Hello everyone, this is Toma from Bonciu.com, and today it's not quite a review, but it's a more of a comparison between these two lenses, Sigma 24 to 105 mm f4 and Canon L lens f4 24 to 105 mm. Now the reason I'm making this this video is because I personally own these two lenses. I'm shooting with this Canon from, I don't know, 3 or 4, no, 5 years now, and Sigma I had it from 1 year and a few months. So I want to tell you my opinion on these two lenses and which one of them I think is the best. Now the first thing that I'm going to do is show you some photos that I took inside the forest. I think shooting inside the forest is a very good test for any lens, because the forest has all sorts of details and small details in the leaves, in the branches, and a lens has to be pretty good to capture all that detail. So I'll let you with the images, and then I'll get back and tell you some more about some technical aspects and my conclusion in the end. The thing that I'm looking in an overall in a lens that is kind of an overall solution is clarity and as less vignetting as possible and low fringes. So I did some photos with both lenses, and the first thing that I want to point out is that this was made with Sigma, and if you take a look at the 24 mm from Canon, it's a little bit wider. So it's a small plus, but it's still a plus. Also, if you take a look, Sigma it has a little bit more contrast than the Canon lens. Now if we are looking at both lenses in a compare view, if you forget to remove the image stabilization from Sigma and you get an exposure something like 2.5 seconds, as it is in this case, you'll notice that the image is blurry. So the image stabilization will affect the clarity of your images if you're on a tripod and you have longer exposure. So if you're a person that kind of forget to remove the stabilization when you're using a tripod, this may be a problem. Now let's compare these two lenses. By the way, I choose to take these photos inside a forest because inside the forest there are lots of detail. There are leaves, there are branches, trees, details in the bark of the tree, and a lens has to be really good to perform well inside the forest. So let's take a look. Both images are 24 mm, ISO 100, f11, 0.3 seconds, no image stabilization. Now if we are to look in the center of the image where I placed my focus, I don't see a difference between these two lenses. The thing that I've noticed is that on the Canon lenses, these fringes look a little bit bigger than on Sigma, but it's not a problem that could affect your image, since every software has a method to remove these fringes very easily. So it's not a big plus for Sigma, but yet again it's a plus, just like in the case of Canon. Now most lenses are sharp in the focus point, and these lenses have the same sharpness as far as I'm concerned. But if we are to look in the corner of the photo, this is where the difference, for me at least, appears. As you can see, there is on the right it's the Canon lens, and on the left it's the Sigma lens. On Canon lens there are much more details in the bark of this tree, and also in the leaves. If you are looking, the Sigma retains less detail in the lens, and also less detail in these dark areas over here, which is extremely important because in perfect situations everything works, but you want your lens to perform well even in difficult situations. Okay, when shooting at 105 millimeters, I think both lenses perform the same. The detail in textures is it's okay. As you can see, the chromatic, it's a little bit different. I think it's a little bit better on Sigma. The color looks a little bit more real, but again, this is not something that you can't correct with a little temperature adjustment, since the details has to exist. You can't compose them. The thing that is different in these two lenses is the bokeh. I don't know how much important it is for a landscape photographer. The Sigma has a bokeh that it's, I don't know, a little bit more pleasing to the eye, but for me it's not that important to have this kind of an element. So at the other end of the lens, at 105 millimeters, I think both lenses look the same. Okay, and another comparison was at the 50 millimeters. Now the way, again, the sharpness is in the center. Both lenses did okay there, and if we take a look, and as you can see, there is a forgotten shoe into the forest, almost like a child's story. Who forgot their shoes in the in the forest? Who forgot only one shoe in the forest? This is the real question. What happened to the other shoe? Okay, now if you're going to look at these leaves over here, you see far more details in the Canon lens. Also in the shoe, there is a lot more definition in the edges of the shoe. Okay, also in this pine tree over here, much more. It looks much better on Canon lenses. So as far as I'm concerned, in the quality of image, the Canon lens wins simply because it retains the detail better on the overall image. Sigma produces an image that is that has a little bit more contrast, that has colors that I think are better than Canon, looks a little bit better, and have fringes that are a little bit smaller or not that noticeable. But these are not things that you can't easily or very easily adjust in Lightroom, for example, where we are right now. So I think in terms of quality of image, the Canon lenses win. Okay, we've come back from the images, and as you saw in those images, the Canon lens retains sharpness throughout the entire area of the photo much better than Sigma. Now, some technical aspects and my conclusion in the end. I think Sigma, it's a pretty well built lens, and with this new series of Sigma art, I think Sigma produces now some quality lens, but they're not as cheap as you might think. In some situations, there are less these lenses cost less than the L versions, but in this situation the prices are almost the same. So Sigma has an 82 fillet, and this can be a problem because if you own many lenses with 77 millimeters of a fillet, you will need to buy a different polarizer filter, a different circular polarizer just for this lens. The main problem with this lens from Sigma is here in the area that the lens is mounted on the body of the camera. It's not that well isolated from weather, and because of that, during winter, last winter for example, when it was pretty cold, I had some problems with the contacts, and I had to unscrew the lens and screw it back just to make it work again. I think this is a major minus, together with the retaining of sharpness. Now there is another thing that I'm bothered at this lens, and that is how narrow the manual focusing ring is. But it's not that a big of a deal. You can get used to it. In terms of quality, yes, indeed, it seems much more well built than the Canon. Also in the Canon lenses, sometimes at some Canon lenses there is the problem that it kind of goes by itself down. My lens doesn't have this problem. I had this lens for about 4 or 5 years now. So and this quality in Sigma lenses translates in a bigger weight, and not always a bigger weight. It's good because usually people that buy this kind of lens don't want to carry a lot of lenses with them, and they want to have less weight on their camera. So this lens, together with a full frame body, might prove difficult to wear for an entire day by smaller persons. It's not that much of a difference in weight, but still it is, and after a day of work you can feel it. Okay, so overall this is a good lens, but because of the sharpening, that it's not retained that well in the corner of the images, and because of this possibility of frozen contacts during low temperature, I think that the lens that you should go in this case, in the 24 to 105 millimeters, is the Canon lens. This lens, for example, in terms of weather conditions, went through rain, dust, wind, minus 20 degrees, snow falling. It was buried under the snow when the snow from a tree fell on my camera, and it didn't happen anything. And even though it seems that the quality is not that good, like in this case, I had no problem with this lens. So my choice in these conditions, or in this case, because I own these two lenses, and it's not a paid commercial, it's not anything, it's only my opinion on these two lenses. I think that the Canon lens is a better lens, at least in this version of 24 to 105 millimeters. And I think that it's important for you to know this thing, because these lenses cost almost the same. And when two lenses cost almost the same, I don't think you have to think about money, and you think about quality. Sometimes when the price, for example, is double, there are some cases, then you can say, okay, I'm giving up some quality, but I'm paying only half of the money. In this case, this is not this doesn't apply. So this is my opinion. 24 to 105 millimeters f4 lens from Canon, it's better in my opinion than the Sigma Art 24 to 105 millimeters f4. Okay, keep on subscribing to my YouTube channel. Hope you find this video useful, and until next time, keep on photographing because it's the only way that you can get better. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.